This is the deepest you can get hurt. When you are being told what they call the false teachers or the dogs for years and years and years that it's in you, and then one day you discover it's not in me. Look at what Paul says. He says, though I myself have reason for confidence in the flesh, he's done some great stuff. If anyone else thinks he has reason for confidence in the flesh, I have more. Now he lists his spiritual CV. He says, circumcised on the 8th day, of the people of Israel, the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, as to the law of Pharisees. In the temple back then, Paul basically had superstar status, all right? As to zeal, a persecutor of the church, as to righteousness under the law, blameless. But whatever I had gained, the nice stuff, I had counted loss for the sake of Christ. Indeed, I count everything as loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Jesus Christ my Lord. For his sake, I have suffered the loss of all things and count them as rubbish. It's not only this one that's rubbish. It's everything in here. If it is relied on to be right with God. All right? Count them as rubbish in order that I might gain Christ and be found in him. Listen up, here it is. Not having a righteousness of my own that comes from the law, but that which comes through faith in Christ. The righteousness from God that depends on faith. Let me ask you again. What makes you right with God? If for a moment you want to jump to your heart, stop. What makes you right? Always, old school Bible commentators will say, what your righteousness is alien. It means it comes from somewhere else than yourself. Because each person, if they really look in the heart, will realize they're not blameless in there. Let's go on for a moment. So I want to teach you 2 terms tonight that maybe you'll forget, maybe it'll sit in your heart, maybe you'll remember it. Jesus does everything necessary to bring me to God in relationship, to be righteous with God. And he does 2 things. He pays everything I should have paid and doing everything I should have done in my place. Now, there's 2 terms. The one is the passive obedience of Christ, and the one is the active obedience of Christ. Which one you think fits where? One is at 1, one is at 2. Who wants to take a shot? Who wants to take a shot? Which one do you think would be referred to as the active obedience or the passive obedience of Christ? When Jesus laid himself down on the cross, like a lamb to be slaughtered, he did not speak. He gave himself over. It's called the passive obedience of Jesus. It was the moment he paid your debt. Bah. That was the moment that the penalty of your sin before God was paid for, not by you, but by him. His passive obedience. At that moment, God would say, okay, you owe me nothing. But at that moment, you have done nothing great. So in a way, you would say, God is neither delighted in you, nor does he want you to pay because Christ paid for you. But we know he delights in you and he loves you, because not only was Jesus passively obedient, but he had an active obedience where he did everything in his 33 years of life to please the Father to such an extent that his whole life is given to you. So that when the Father looks at you, he opens the heart of Jesus and his life. Remember when he wanted to get baptized? What did John the Baptist say? No! What did Jesus say? It must be done to fulfill all righteousness. I must live the life John, that you are required to live. I must get baptized like people should. So he does get baptized, the one man without sin. And in a way, I want to say, let's say you give your heart to Jesus today and you are washed and you get out there and you're in a car accident and you died, and maybe you're like, oh man, I wish I was baptized. Jesus was baptized in your place. All right? That's not a reason not to get baptized. But that's how extreme God goes, because every time you say a word that you should not have said, there's words of love that Jesus spoke. God gives that to you. Every time you have an impure thought towards a woman or a man, you're like, man, where does this come from? The purity of Christ becomes yours. The active obedience of Jesus. And we've asked it before in this church. That is why Jesus did not die as a baby. He had to live a righteous life, which is given to you. Isn't that amazing? What causes you to be accepted? The death and the life of Jesus. And that's why when Christians get caught doing a good thing, and people ask them, like, really, why do you do it? Believers in tune with the Spirit at that moment don't refer to what's in their own heart. I've just brought up that way. Someone did something for me that I could never have done for myself. And I'm just trying to be like my hero, my Savior, Jesus, and it's just a little bit. But I don't want you to look at me. I want you to look at him. You see what happens because, I'm accepted because of what he did. Isn't that amazing? The passive obedience of Jesus we see also in Ephesians 2 verse 8. For by grace you have been saved through faith. This is not of your own. Something is given unto you from the outside. It is the gift of God. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace. And with his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep has gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord has laid on him. See the passive obedience. Lay it on me, Lord. I will wait, and I will not get off the cross. Give every sin, give every debt, everything that a human must pay, give it to me. I will not get off, Lord. I will stick. Sometimes you feel, man, I'm so unfaithful. How can God love me? It's a good thought to have, but follow it up with a great one. There was one who was never unfaithful. And it is his life that counts for you. When you know this, you worship differently. You don't worship like this. That's how you worship. When you think you've got some great stuff in here. Does the band just get done? I've got stuff to get to. Wonderful life. When you get this, you worship differently. And actually, you don't care so much anymore about